Right.
All right. Look, guys, looks like we're live. It looks like it's gonna be a little bit rocky. Give me 1 second. We're gonna get it set up. I'm one man showing it right now. All right. Welcome back to the Manufacturing Come Up. I'm your host Malachi Greb. Today we have Shane. Shane, you've been doing a lot in your career. You've been doing some amazing things. I mean, you're a COO, you're a business owner. Tell people what you're doing right now.
Yeah, let's start off where I'm at. And so I'm currently in Denver, Colorado at the Home and Garden Show. I've been a welder my whole career. I came out of high school when high schools taught young adults how to make a living with their bare hands and their head. And so I've welded my whole life. I've taught my son how to weld. And we are debuting our new company, Carbon Dwell, shipping container homes that young adults or anybody can afford to get into the housing market. So this is our first show. We just opened up in October, and we, day one, sold our first unit because it is a solution to homeowner expenses. And so that's where we're at. There's 50,000 people that roll through the show, and they're wondering, why is that guy talking to his phone? But, that's the kind of guy I am. So that's where we're at. I'll take you into my background and how I got into manufacturing, and then we can go from there. Is that all right?
Let's do it.
All right. So, I came out of high school as a certified welder, but before that, manufacturing ran in my DNA. My grandfather owned a steel stamping plant in a small town in Ohio, and before the Second War, they were stamping oil filters. And then he said the G-men showed up and said, "How would you like to stamp bomb casings?" And it was right in the Great Depression era, and he told me, son, we made a lot of money coming out of the Great Depression. And so he owned his own manufacturing plant. And, as I grew up, my father had a construction business. He always took risk as well. And I started learning that trade, but I didn't want to work with wood. So I decided I want to work with steel because steel's real. And I met my first mentor in high school. And that mentor, shout out to Richard Hazy. Anybody knows Richard Hazy, send him to me. I'm trying to track him down. But he inspired me to become a welder. I went on to trade school, got through trade school, and then I kept coming back and talking to his class. And he said, "Shane, why don't you go to college? And you're a smart guy." And so I did that. But I got a degree in production operations management, basically learn how to run manufacturing factories. And I was a supervisor, a manager, and a leader for the world's biggest semiconductor company. And I did a lot of process improvement. And I did a lot of people development. And I had the highest performing shift of any factory in the entire world of that company. We were 20% above safety, quality, cost, output, and employee morale. And so that put me on a consulting path. And today I have a manufacturing consulting company that I am the chief operating officer. And I'm the CEO of this, some kind of monster, I call it, behind us for a shipping container home. So that's where I've come from. It's always been in my veins. I weld every day, but I also I'll never put on a tie. Didn't wear one for my mother's funeral. Won't wear one for any company I work with, but I go into these boardrooms with CEOs and we optimize their companies. And we work with people to teach them how to do it. So it's not done to them, it's done through them, because that's who raises the roof in any company. The people that are doing the goods and services, those are the ones that, those are the craftsmen. And I'm a craftsman by heart. So that's my background.
What do you think were some of the things that helped you like refine these skills?
Yeah, process. And so, I've always been a process thinker. I'm a dreamer, but it's troubleshooting. And I tell people that want to get into manufacturing, or tell people in manufacturing this: if you don't like finding and fixing problems every day, then get out of manufacturing, because that's what's in our DNA. There's a problem every day. You didn't ship it. You didn't fit. This container didn't open up on a hinge, and we were live at a show and had people watching us, but you just start troubleshooting. So process improvement and troubleshooting, and it extends past manufacturing. Those folks can do anything. I tell people, you drop me any place in the world, you give me nothing and I will eat that night, because these hands will allow me to eat. I can put my hands and head to work, and I can build something or work my way out of a problem. Sometimes I've worked myself into a problem, but troubleshooting and process.
Gotcha. How were you as a younger individual? Were you fairly outgoing, or were you like a shy individual? What was kind of your characteristics?
No, I was quite introverted. Just kidding. Everybody knows that I wasn't right by now. I was always dreaming. I was an insomniac. I couldn't sleep because my head wouldn't turn off. And that's what got me into welding. When I was a young man in high school, I had to clean 8 horse stalls before I went to school. Then I had to come home. I would clean up small piles into a wheelbarrow, come home. Then I'd put that wheelbarrow into a larger pile. Then on Saturdays, I would take that big pile and spread it out on a field. I'm like, how incredibly inefficient is it? And so my dad had some lumber in the yard. I took my allowance, bought some wheels. I still have them today. I built this cart to tow behind an ATV, a 3-wheeler then. That's how older I am.
Right.
And I would go into the stall, pick up a small pile, direct into the field, and I had my Saturdays off. Now, that was made out of wood. It was rickety. So then I get into high school. My next round was, I'm going to build it out of steel. I don't know how to weld. I get into a welding class. Now, here's the big question for the crowd. I freed up my Saturdays. Do you think my dad let me off on Saturday, or you think he gave me more work? More manure is what I got. More work, right? But yeah, just growing up, I was always solving problems, dreaming it up, putting it together. And now I spend my time taking toy train containers and stacking them. And we finished building a house. This is what inspired this business. My son and I put together 11 shipping containers. We built a multi-generational home. Never built a house before, and it's 3 stories tall. I made an elevator out of a ski chairlift. It lifts you up 13 feet to the roof. And so we live in a steel box that we welded. And I'm going to do a shout out to Miller Welding. They discovered what we did with it. They sponsored us. And there's a story on Miller Welds about our family and why we chose to move in together, because I lost my 20-year-old son to cancer. And so we had to move in together, and we couldn't afford a home in Denver. So we decided, put our hands to work. Let's build a home. So all those skills, all that background, I just can't turn it off, and I'm just very appreciative of somebody routing my energy into the manufacturing environment, because you can design with your head and build with your hands.
Lost both of us. Okay, I'm back. Am I back? Shane, we lost each other.
Did you lose me?
Yeah, we lost me too for a second. I don't know what happened.
Oh, am I back on?
Yeah. Take us back to Miller.
Yeah, and so we built this shipping container home. Miller Welders is one of the largest welding manufacturers in the U.S. I used one of their welders to build it. They called me up, wanted some feedback on their welder. I showed them what we built. They came out and they filmed our story. It's on millerwelds.com, or you can go to carbondwell.com and you'll see that story. But they shot our family for about 14 hours straight. And it was, why we built the home, why my grandchildren, my son and his wife, my wife, we all chose to move in together because I lost my 20-year-old son to cancer. And to get through that tragedy, we had to bond ourselves like 2 pieces of metal. And so we welded up containers and built a home. And today we live in it. And that inspired the business, the product behind you. But I couldn't have done any of that without a high school mentor, without a manufacturing desire to build things. And it started as 15-year-old, just putting ugly welds together. And my whole life, it's every ounce of trouble I've ever been in, I go back to those manufacturing principles, and it gets me through it.
What exactly was it about welding that made you want to stick with it and kind of fired you up?
Yeah, man, it was just this fact, like my father was a woodworker, my older brother was a woodworker, and that takes patience. I don't have it. It takes a meticulous set of skills and time. And for me, and then I'm looking at steel, and I saw us all bolting steel together for stuff. And I'm like, man, I can join 2 pieces of material with heat, sparks flying. It was exciting. It was like fireworks right before your eyes. And I could fill any gap, and that's not a good welder is a good fitter. You still have to do that meticulous energy, but you can bond things together. And once you do, it's stronger than the material you started with. So I just got fascinated with steel. If I walk past a metal railing today, I got to feel it. I just got to touch it because steel is real. It's just something only human hands can really dial in.
Gotcha. Yeah, I find that kind of cool about individuals, like in their, like, especially when people get like super fired up and like passionate about things, like they find something about whatever it is that they're doing that just like makes them invigorated.
Yeah, and it's gratifying. You get done and you look back and go, I cut a 20-foot container in half, put a hinge on it, and now 50,000 people are looking at it. And my hands did that with this piece of equipment. And so it's gratifying. Whether you're building a birdhouse, first thing I ever built. Then I built the dog house. And then I moved over to steel, built that manure cart. You don't have to be an old timer. You could be, my granddaughter's 4. We're getting ready to lay down her first weld this summer. And I'm going to start with the right protection equipment and a good hood. But I'm going to teach her how to build with her hands, because today we got to get back to that. We got to get back to people having the skills so they can afford to build what they live in or afford to do what they're passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that like definitely a huge portion of like our schooling should have more of a, skilled trades like just built into it. Even if it just gives you like, I mean, me personally, I think we should start extremely young, maybe even like back in elementary school. Yeah. And it's like maybe every year you just get like a taste of like different things. Maybe it's construction, then it's like welding, and then it's like, CNC machining, and just through all these different careers that you may potentially want to do. So that way, when you're 18, you have some idea of like what direction you want to go in, maybe.
Yeah, that was my path. So in middle school, I did my first, they called it a metals class. I did that, brazing, and I made a candle holder for my mom, right? And then I did a home ec. I learned to sew. I made this, excuse my French, badass AC/DC pillow, and I was in the 8th grade, right? And then I went on to mechanics in high school. Then I took more welding. I did electronics. I did every industrial art, they called it.
Shane.
Yeah, and then found my sweet spot, welding. I lose you. Oh
man. I'm not at a trade show.
Am I back?
Yeah, but guys, put down in the comments below.
Hope I'm still on. If I'm not, I'm kind of winging it. So see if he comes back into the field here.
All right, guys, we're still live. I'm here. Let's see. Jen, I don't know if you can hear me or not. Oh, there's Sean. Okay. Add him back.
Am I back?
Yeah, we're back, and we're still live somehow. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I noticed. I was like talking to the crowd. They were like, give me a shout out or something.
Yeah, it kicked me out too. It's never done that before, so that's kind of strange.
Gotcha.
Oh, well. Here we are. All right. Let's try to jump back into this thing.
You got it, man.
Yeah, so I've seen your the Miller commercial. Extremely awesome commercial. Extremely awesome story. And what you guys had to go through, that was a big deal, and I'm glad that it brought you and your family together the way that it did. You guys, I mean, definitely one blessing out of it is like you guys have like came together strong as a family and stronger than ever. I think it's a really huge thing we're missing in the U.S. culture is like having a multi-family home.
Yeah, it's so male of us, and I'll explain, right? How many people listening right now, your parents say, when you turn 18, you're moving out of the house and we're going to be empty nesters. And to all those parents, I hope somebody's watching. It's not what it's cracked up to be, man. I mean, I don't want to live in the same bedroom in a bunk bed, right, with my son. Trust me, he don't want to either. It'd be like a scene from Step Brothers, right? But I live right next door to him. I see my grandchildren every day, and now he's teaching me. And if you become an adult and you have children, if you can let your ego down and let your children, let your kids teach and train you, it's an amazing universe, man. You'll grow past your years, So it's been a tragedy turned blessing, and we didn't build a home, we rebuilt a family, and we're very different than we were going into it, of course, as you can imagine.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And if you would kind of, if you wouldn't mind, give us a tour of what you've what's came out of it.
Yeah, man, we'll do this right now. So let's get up. What we've done here is we've taken a container, and it's fully livable, but we cut it in half so you didn't have to get inside it. It's so you can see inside it. So we're in the Denver Convention Center, downtown Denver, Colorado. And so if you look at this guy, it starts with your bathroom. So this is where you take your shower. You'd have a slider door right here. You'd open it up. You'd be in your kitchen area. Then you'd get into the living area. You'd fold out that bed behind me, and it'd be an 8-foot by 20-foot. I hate the word, but tiny home. But as you can see, this thing opens up and it hinges open. And it was a huge experiment. But now if we get in the back here, it's a shipping container. You know, steel's real. This thing is built to be on ships. It withstands the test of time. You can throw anything at it. It is insulated and built just like a home. But at the end of the day, our mission is to build homes, and they're expandable. We built it to where you can bolt on another one a year later, 2 years later, through an expansion flange we'd have designed where the windows go in. You unbolt the window, you bolt up another container. So young adults can find a place to put it, rent a patch of dirt, drop it on the ground, plumb it, sewer it, and live in it. Or it's an auxiliary dwelling unit for your backyard where I live and my son and his family live inside, or it's a cabin or whatever, a backyard office, hobby room. But yeah, that's the build, and it just hinges open. We shut it, we put an axle underneath it, bolt the tongue up, and we towed it right through downtown Denver. You know, and so sparks flying and everything. So didn't have an engineer. I don't have an engineering degree. All I have is an imagination, a welder, pair of hands, and a couple guys willing to go take it, make an experiment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one thing that's really cool that you pointed out is like there's definitely some level of like where we put like degrees and engineering degrees on like a pedestal. And I think it's the major issue with it is that individuals will start to believe, oh, I don't have an engineering degree, I can't do this thing, right? Like, especially like you looking at a product like you've produced, like they may think, oh, I can't design that. They wouldn't even attempt to try because of like this psychological disconnect.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, this is a real conversation from yesterday. I'll zoom back into this container. When we decided to do this show, I went to my son and I was like, we're going to do tongue and groove in the back and make it look like a cabin. And my son said, Dad, if it doesn't look like a piece of art, I ain't doing it. And so, here's the story to your point. My son has always had a knack since he was 4 or 5 years old, laying out his room, changing it up. But like, if you look at the detail in here, look at the dishes, our dishes, right? The display, everything is a piece of art. And so yesterday I was like, son, you got to become an interior designer, not only for our company, but for people's homes. Because in this show, people are like, who did your interior design? And he said, I don't have a degree. I said, you know what? The world doesn't care anymore. All the world cares is they look at that and say, that's art and I want it. And, you can understand what somebody wants, what their background, their persona is. And then he designs it. He owns a graffiti gallery. And he'll design it and he'll come out the back end and a person will say, that's me. So we leave our imprint on everything we do. And it's degreeless. And so what's the point?
Yeah.
He's not ever going to lay out an entire hotel and all that. He doesn't aspire to do that. But there's people to show going, who's your interior designer? Man, I bet they're decorated. And I'm like, they are decorated. It's called the School of Hard Knocks, right? And so, not to downplay engineering, not to downplay a degree, but, I can speak with both sides of my mouth. I'm a tradesman and I got a college degree. I use them both. But today, I support manufacturers all over the U.S., and all they care is somebody has three things: the get, want, and capacity to learn. That's it. Because the fact is, we aren't turning people out of school anymore with specialized skills. And so they already know they're going to have to train them on their equipment, their automation, their press brake, their punch, their welder. All they want somebody to show up, be there on time, be committed, and they'll invest in them. So don't let that be a conceptual block. Degrees are the worst. College debt's one of the worst debts you could have. Not saying it's not a good thing to get, but you'll always eat with these hands, right? You'll always eat, in situations of the economy, to be able to do that. And so, education's good, but practical. Do something with it, and don't be a barrier. Just go out and build that birdhouse, and then build the doghouse, and then crack open a shipping container.
Yeah, I actually got like a funny story that kind of goes along with that a little bit. That whenever I was working like my 9-to-5 job with another systems integrator, I essentially would buy like a lot of the tools like that we were doing like installs with, and like it got to a point where literally the company that I worked for basically had no tools, and I bought and owned all the tools. So every tool that was used on an install, I owned them. And that was like one thing that was taught to me by my uncle. He's like, you can always make money with tools. And so that was the funny thing is it ended up being like a psychological thing in my head. It was like, if I'm willing to buy tools for this company that's not even mine, what would I be willing to do for my, you know what I mean?
Right. And are they going to invest in me? Right. And I think the problem is I'm going to get to the name of this segment right here. And you're nervous right now. I know it, but I'll get to the name of what we'll call this segment. Everybody has this box, right? And you were in that box of your uncle and your grandfather and your dad. You buy your own tools because that's what they make craftsmen do. And companies today realize they're going to have to invest in their people, the right tools, processes, and things to do in their job, because we got to start living life uncontained. Come out of the box. Think different. Be yourself. Show up to a job with a tattoo on your neck, with them on your arms. It's a tribute to my son, but those days are gone. Just bring your full self to the job, and they'll look right past any difference. And at the end of the day, a whole team moves a manufacturing plant, moves our society, but it's time to get that back in our culture. Multi-generations working shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand, but don't live in the box. Live life uncontained.
Yeah. Absolutely. He has some good slogans.
Love it, man.
Yeah. Hey, I assume have you always been pretty good at like at language and being able to like communicate and speak with individuals?
Man, I'll tell you, the reason that I can do speaking off the top of my head, I spell like crap. Grammar is optional. I'm terrible. And I'll be presenting to these CEOs, and I'll have misspellings in a PowerPoint. That is like, you're dead, right? So if I can't wow them with how I'm talking and what I can actually do, I'm a dead man. And so spelling and grammar is optional. I know it's not. Please, moms, dads out there, don't get mad, this crazy guy. But at the end of the day, I use my strength, my energy, my passion, and the ability to look somebody in the eye spontaneously and have a conversation. That's also something that's been gone because of technology, right? We communicate like this. Everybody's looking for an app. Like I'll come home and say, my family will say, hey, I talked to so-and-so. First thing I say is, you had a physical conversation with them? Like on the phone or even this? No, I texted. I'm like, that ain't talking. Talking is seeing emotions, giving emotions, receiving it. Right. So communication's everything, but man, I just use my strengths to get by, because I got we all have tons of weaknesses. I just use mine to get by. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I fall into that same boat with like not having like really good grammar and not having really good spelling. And, I don't know when I like overcame and just kind of didn't care, but I was like, I know when I first came on LinkedIn, people were like trying to like shoot me off LinkedIn. They're like, why are you on this platform? You can't even spell right. You blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, well, I want to write a post. I want to write a post in 3 minutes and send it and call it done, right? And get whatever thoughts in my head out there on the web. And I don't want to spend another 3 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes to proofread it. I want to get the thought, get it on paper, and go.
Yeah, I call that analysis paralysis, right? So many people, well, it's not ready yet. Oh, I can't do that. I want to reread it, right? I don't hear you saying, I want to put language out there nobody understands. They can't follow my post. But if I have to put more thought in it than exactly the impact I'm trying to make, don't do analysis paralysis. Experiment. Our job should be to fail as fast as we can, learn from it. Don't fail on the same thing twice, though, right? But failing's learning. Just don't make it catastrophic, dangerous, unsafe, right? That kind of stuff. But don't walk away going, man, I misspelled it. Everybody, all the trolls on the internet, gave me their editorial. It's like, how many posts have you done? How many people read your post, right? At least I post up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. One cool thing that actually came out of that was like kind of unexpected is like people would be in the comments. They would like say something about like, hey, get off LinkedIn. And then other people, I would always just leave those people be. I never like tried to engage with them and really, have a conversation unless they try to direct message me. Then I would talk to them or whatever. But there would be people in the community that would jump in there too and be like, hey, he's expressing his thoughts. Hey, this is da 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 da. Like, and like really chiming in and like, I don't want to say sticking up for me, but like they were along the same mindset and the thought process of like, this is valuable information. Like worrying about the punctuation of it is not as important.
Yep, absolutely. And, being from that computer industry, semiconductor, I work with people that had MIT, Harvard, Stanford, Ivy League. And I'll tell you what, my team of 600 kicked everybody's rear end every night. Why? Because I was passionate about enrolling them, engaging them, and becoming a team of one. Like this container, when we put it on this hinge to hinge open, I told, my team, this is an experiment. If it fails, we're going to truck it in 2 halves and roll it apart, put it on separate rollers. We cut it open. I didn't engineer it. I didn't run a model. I didn't pump it into a Excel spreadsheet and calculate metallurgical stress and yada, yada, yada. I just dove in and said, if it fails, I have an action plan. I have a backup plan to do. And, just don't overthink it, man. But there's a price of admission that we all got to do, right? We got to, I got to spell my resume right. If not, nobody's going to bring me in. But I got to have expertise to back what I say. So spelling, grammar, and all that stuff is valuable, but don't overthink your life and career. Just get moving. I'd rather go the wrong direction than no direction.
Absolutely. What were some of your first steps outside of high school?
I went to that trade school to get final certified because the local high school couldn't do the testing. So about 3 months out of that, they came scouting. I had a job immediate lined up. I was a fabricator on heavy equipment, doing coal sifters, conveyors, and hoppers. So 8 of us built. We shipped. I was 18. We shipped something to Africa. This is 1988, right? And I'm like, wow, I built that. 8 of us built it, and it went to Africa. And then I started wanting to do. There was an engineer there, and I couldn't understand this drawing. And he came out and he said, "Give me that cutting torch." And he rolls up his sleeves, right? And he starts using a gas axe. And I'm like, I want to be that guy. And so I went back to my high school teacher, my mentor, and I was speaking to his class and goes, Shane, you're smart, man. You can do it. And I didn't get out of high school with any math. I did business math, but I didn't do algebra. I didn't have biology, none of that. Chemistry I didn't take. I focused in the trades. And he's like, you're smart. I started from ground zero, basic math in college. I was a mechanical engineer. I did 2 years. I got all the way up to, to where I should be. And then I realized this ain't me. I don't want to be a guy wearing a suit and tie and designing something I never build. I wanted to be the guy behind the welder or the guy that's partnering with people. And so I was like, what can I do in manufacturing to lead teams, lead groups, and build things? And that's what I changed my degree. I only lost 1 credit, 1 class credit, 3 credits, right? And I went into manufacturing. I targeted, I'll say the company, Intel Corporation. I targeted them. They're in my hometown. Shout out to Rio Rancho, New Mexico. And I got lucky, man. I got the job. They hired me on. I was 23 and off I went. And so everything I've done, I don't, it's failing is not, it's learning to me. And I was born with an abnormally high amount of self-esteem, right? So,
Yeah.
that's how I am. I'm like, I'm not going to feel bad about it or whatever. Some say I'm, cocky, overzealous, but it's everything is, if I fail twice, now I didn't learn from it. But it's learning, and it's a learning loop. I want to go through many learning loops in my life. And so that's but manufacturing running through my veins. My grandfather's steel stamping plant, I was able to walk through that plant 3 years ago in Toronto, Ohio, less than 1,500 people there. And that's the origins. It just runs in my veins. And you don't have to be from a family of manufacturers. You have to be a process thinker. You have to be able to just dream something and build it with your hands. And so that's always been in my life and my career.
Do you feel like you've gained much like business from like your family owned business from like your grandfather and whatnot?
Being a manufacturing consultant, the first thing they want to do is say, what do you know about manufacturing? Right. We go in and we streamline their processes, and we work with their leadership teams, because the problem is always at the top of the company. But they'll have that attitude. And I'm like, well, I built my own container home with 11 containers in 9 months and 1 week, 3 of us that my son designed, right? I'm like, and I just mentioned that part of my intro. Been in manufacturing my whole life, certified welder, got a degree in doing what I do today, worked for the world's largest computer semiconductor. And they're like, yeah, sure, this guy doesn't know anything. And then I talk about this house, and they're like, he's one of us. He's a craftsman, and so that has always carried there and brought that credibility. So, how many young adults today go buy a piece of furniture and have to turn to somebody to put it together? Some people, and then you got folks that will pay somebody to do it. Even if I had the money, I can't do it. I'd rather know I put it together so I know how it works. So, manufacturing's not for everybody. This trade isn't, but it'll always pay off in the long end. If you can process think, you can take some complex problem, break it down simple, and then change it and stop it from ever happening again, because you can solve it root cause with your troubleshooting skill.
Gotcha. What do you think, like in particular, were some things that you had learned from like your prior family owned business from the
hard work. My dad was an entrepreneur. He retired at 42. Didn't see him growing up, because he was focused on that prize, and proud of him for doing that. But I didn't have weekends off. I wasn't able to play sports. We owned, a lot of things that took a lot of maintenance. And so we owned a shopping center, a strip mall. So people move in on holidays and weekends. We built out those stores. And so while I missed things in my childhood I wasn't able to do, now I've learned. And I know he's not watching, because he couldn't turn on, his iPhone or whatever, doesn't own one. But I'll give that a shout out, because why I miss sports and all that, I can learn that. But I know so many people that have never turned a screw, never pounded a nail, but they'll say, hey, I built a house. I'm like, you mean you hired a contractor to build your house, right? Or they don't know how to troubleshoot, or they don't know how things work. And that's okay. Some people are built for it, or some aren't. But it was a legacy given to me that I've given to my son. He didn't go to welding school. He can weld right there with the best of them. He can design it. He can decorate it. He can weld it. And he didn't go to formal school. He went to a charter school that was film, media, music. And he says everything I learned in that charter high school allowed me to exercise my creativity, whether being my media, being steel, being canvas, being a spray can, or being in fabric. And so again, back to the origins of trades, craftsmanship, and getting the most out of what your high school or your primary school has to offer you. And if not, find a mentor in your life. Find a parent, your uncle, like you said, with the tools, a cousin. Old people like me love to spend time talking about what we've done, justifies our existence, but yet transmitting and giving people our skill. I told my son, if you give people, elders, respect, they will give you all their skill that comes with it for free. And so let's respect those that have done before us. Let's leverage them as mentors. Let's leverage schooling. Go to extended school if that's what you want to be, that engineer. But just stay true to your passion, stay true to what your life purpose really is. And you got to find your life purpose too, right? That's part of the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of your thoughts on, like, say for instance, I'll give you a personal example. Like right now, I have a cousin, I have a brother, and I really don't even care if they follow in the footsteps of what the company does. They have some involvement, but like they're kind of just there for me and to help out the company itself and just being there as family, right? So for me, I don't really care what they do what they want, right? But I want them to do something. I want them to pick something. I want them to, kind of find that thing to be passionate about. Um, what are your thoughts on some of that family culture and working, and like, do you think that though, I guess, what do you think helped like fortify that, like your family has like a strong working culture, and that you guys kind of have a good synergy in what you guys do together?
Yeah, I'd say experiment, man. One is finding out what you're passionate about, but experiment. So when you, like me growing up, I wanted to do sports with my peers. But I was present. I learned everything. I was the little guy in the corner drywalling, and my dad would show up and go, "What are you doing? I'm going to have to fix that if you do it wrong." Right. And I'd scurry off, right? Start pounding nails or whatever. So, but I was little. I was like 8 years old on job sites, right? And so just be present, learn from them. It might not be something you love, but it might be a skill you need as a price of admission in your life. So learn from them. Everybody on this planet can teach somebody something. So learn from, right? Be present, be there. If you show up 5 minutes late, you just cost yourself a learning opportunity, because that old timer or that family member is not going to rely on you, nor are they going to invest in you. And then, if you're struggling with, well, what do I want to do in my life? If you're young, right? Ask yourself, what do I love doing? And and you heard this adage, I would do it for free. And something that time just passes by. When my welding hood's down, I lose all track of time and space. It was therapy for me building that house with the loss of my son. I say it in that Miller video, hood's down, I was in my world. So what is that world that pays you back in your heart? And then today, it's amazing. People out of COVID went into their own hobbyisms, I call it, and their passion, and didn't go back to work because they rediscovered themselves. Knitting, sewing, building, woodworking, whatever it is. And you can make money with your hands and head today more than you ever could when I was growing up. You had to have a store. You had to have this. Now you can post something up on social media, put it on Pinterest, and before you know it, you've sold 5 stickers that you designed, and because you bought the sticker printer at Hobby Lobby or Michael's, and now you're selling stickers, 1 sticker at a time. That's how it happens. So there's more opportunities now to discover your passion, experiment, and learn how to make money with it. Now, let's say you have to work that 8 to 5 job, whatever those hours are. That's what fuels your passion. Don't say, "Oh, I'm just stuck." So make it count, right? Use that. So when you are off, you can do the other things you love and do that and collect 1 skill at a time.
Yep. Yeah, I always think it's valuable. Like, even if like at a 9 to 5 job, like if it's not exactly aligned, like there's still so many valuable points that you can learn there and really have like your mind open. Like, one of the major advantages that I had was, for like 2 years of me working my 9 to 5 job, I kind of knew that things weren't gonna like pan out long term at the company I was at. So for those 2 years, like I had like a very clear vision in the way that I was looking at everything. Like, how's this business operating? Where are there gaps? When projects are not going smooth, why are they not going smooth? And like really analyzing like what's going on within the company to try to help like mitigate those same mistakes. Like whenever I started my own company.
Yeah. And you take that example of project management. You can do that in any industry, right? Any industry, construction to, manufacturing. You take it outside of that to wedding planning. Wedding planning is project management. So find those core skills. Here's the fact of why people leave companies. They think they need to leave a company, leave a job to get career development somewhere else. I tell people there's more career development under your own feet in your own job of core competencies and skills that carry on into your life. Master that. Learn the things that cross over into your life. So when you own your sticker factory, You can project plan that sticker factory to get it in everybody's hands because you want to be the artist that you want to become. And so life skills, 100%. If you don't have life skills, you're not going to have an organized life. And so, and what is in your current job today, you can learn, do that well, because when your job's not going well, your life's not going well. Your life's not going well, make sure your job's going well. But soak up every skill you can through family, through job, through employer. And again, mentors will give it all to you for free. You just got to show them some respect, and you got to be present to win.
Love it. Love it. What are some of the things that you have coming up in your future?
Scaling this business one container at a time. So I really want this to be a legacy project, right? A legacy business to where it spans not only my son. In my consulting business, we have a mission to where we want to bring young talent up and teach them how to be a consultant, not turn 80 and now they have gray hair and they can be a consultant. They're too set in their ways, right? And so we have a young workforce. And so that young workforce is owners in this business here. It's a sister business. And so we want to leave that as a legacy, whether it be in our primary business or this sister business, to where we're teaching, training, upskilling, and then we just get out of the way, right? We just get out of the way. But that's it, is scaling this business one container at a time, scaling, continuing our consulting business, and just changing people's lives and whoever we touch. It could be the owner that thought they couldn't afford a home. We do a do-it-yourself model to where we do the cut and weld. We put this special insulation in. It comes with that's for a container, and we let them build it out. We're going to open up a nonprofit called Urban Dwell in this next year. It'll be a sister to Carbon Dwell, and we want to work with the cities. We want to work with the trade schools, and we want to teach the young tradesmen how to build these. That the municipalities, the cities, will fund it for either dwellings for those that don't have a home to live in, or affordable dwellings. And so we want to use that nonprofit as our platform to build tradesmen, to solve the housing crisis one container at a time. And we're not the only solution, but we want to be part of it. We want to be part of that solution in many ways.
Right. Absolutely. I don't know if you know this, but fun fact, our slogan is freeing humans one robot at a time.
Oh, man. And you know what? Let's not get afraid. Yeah, let's not get afraid of automation, right? Automation will not replace people's jobs. It'll replace mundane, highly repetitive, low skill. So it'll free up people to grow their skill. And the young adults of this era, they can run things on their phone that I can't do on a computer. They can program a CNC machine, a robotic welder, a press brake. So now it's time to bring man and machine together, but we're always going to be the master of the machine. We don't want that machine becoming our master. That's called Terminator 2.
Yeah. You know, this really goes into like a big part of my vision and my, like, you know, what I'm really trying to accomplish in life is that, like, there, to some degree, like, I feel like we're, you know, as a human society, we've gotten to where we kind of work for the machine, and the machine being, you know, our jobs or whatever that may be, right? And so like my like idea is, like, if we can get to where a point where we can work at least only work 40 hours a week and not have to work 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 hours a week, and maybe even get to where we work 30 hours a week, and then have like time where it's like, this is time to like educate and explore and like decide what you want to do for like other avenues of your life, or maybe other avenues of like career paths within the business you're already in, or just hobbies or whatever, right? Like, I feel like there's a lot of people were stuck and we're working so hard at our 9 to 5 and surviving and making money that, you know, it's hard to do anything outside of that.
Or let's not physically work so hard, right? I mean, my knees from welding on concrete my whole life, my back, whatever. There's, you know, my son's always worked with this, Dad, not always with these. And man, that's part of his coaching on me, right? You know, and so yeah, absolutely. Automation can be a balanced solution, but there's always going to have to be creativity that tells that robot what to do with it, right? And that's us. That's what we do. And it's got to be a partnership, but it's not going to replace us, man. It's not, from that perspective. So, yep.
I think another really cool thing that we could see would be having more artistic features inside of manufacturing facilities. So like instead of us having so much focus on just throughput only, like how can we make this a beautiful facility? How can we make this a facility that's like bright and vibrant and where people really, they're happy to come and work and happy to be part of?
Well, like this container behind me, my son's like, we'll do that show, but it's got to be, people are confused what this damn thing is. They're like, what are we looking at? It's bright orange, it's white, all this stuff. His artwork's all in it, right? And we're like, it's art, right? And they're like, yeah, you're selling art? No, we're selling shipping container homes, right? Yeah. That drew you into it, right? Mm-hmm. Right down to the jacket on the wall is the son I lost, Austin Wade Barber. Mm-hmm. That was his jacket. So he's here today, but he's part of the installation. And so, we want people to live with their passion. And, but it's how do you do that, right? How do you make manufacturing heart science and all art? Because it's art. Those men and women on concrete floors right now producing this pen, right? That's art. That's a 3D metal printed pen. That's art. And somebody's the artist behind it, and it's manufactured, right?
Absolutely. Do you currently have any type of like end goal of like how many like maybe shipping container homes you'd like to produce in your lifetime?
Yeah, when we built the first one, it took us 9 months and a week, 3 of us, and I was working full time as a consultant. So, I was the nights and weekends guy and didn't sleep much, right? And we got done. I was like, man, I'm glad that's over. I innovated it. It's done. We've done it. We took, that was 2019. Then we thought we're going to do this smaller version, single and doubles. But this is our first show. Day one, people have asked, will you build me a home or will you build me a container? So this is going to change our scope of our business to where we're going to probably do 1 to 2 homes a year, but we're not going to go crazy because we want to make sure the craftsmanship's in it. And then we're going to do a bunch of small boxes, right? From that perspective. And so it's going to be a blended platform where we'll be a home builder, and then we'll be a box builder, if you call it that. You know what I mean? And so, we're possibility thinkers. Wherever our journey takes us is where it's going to be. We know we're always going to fabricate. We're always going to weld, but we're always going to infuse other things. Like this container has a concrete shower. Never done it before. Went down, bought a specific concrete, mix. The guy walked me through it, and I was like, it's an experiment. First one out of the chute is this shower basin, and we've had 2 people say, will you do that in my shower? I'm not in a shower business. I am today. Right? And so, and so we're just going to take it where our creativity takes us and our capability, and we're just going to keep going, man. You can tell I'm having fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I think, one thing that'd be a pretty cool concept, especially if you like decide to like scale and like produce hundreds of units in a year, that like, if you did like a concept where it's kind of like Lego-y, where you could like, let's say for instance, your shower, you could get your shower room, you could get like a 4x4 or 4x8 or, 8x20 or however big you wanted your shower, right? But they came in like different size options. And then you could basically plug that into like a bedroom and plug it into all the different,
we have 7 models exactly like that. We start with a 40-foot container. A woman on Sunday said, can I tour, your house on Tuesday morning? It was, today's Thursday. We went in the backyard where my container's roughed out like this one. And, she's like, I want a 28-footer, but they don't come in 28 feet. I said, we start with a 40-foot, we cut it down. And then she's like, I want my bath here and I want this here. We Lego block it. That's the cool thing about containers. And then we have what's called an expansion flange that we've designed where your window goes. Instead of cutting a hole and welding, your frame for your window, we cut out a whole section. Then we build another wall. We bolt it in. A year from now, you say, I want another container. We move it right in. It bolts right up. Now we've got 2 containers, 3 containers, 4, right? It's expandable because we don't want people wasting their money and their time. We want these to live and grow with them. And it's a Lego block. And Lego is the number 3rd toy in the world because everybody likes putting them together.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it'd be cool. I mean, I don't know if this may be a little bit far fetched, but Maybe next year you want, your bathroom's on the left side of your bedroom and you want to move it to the right side. Who knows?
Let's go, right? It's bolted up. We'll just swap it over, right?
Yeah.
Yep. You'll have to
Yeah.
check back with us in a year. I can't imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. We're past moving around our couches in the living room. We're going to just move our entire living room around.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Just roll it on wheels like this one behind me and bolt it up.
Right. That's awesome. Well,
Right on.
I don't want to take up too much of your time. Do you have any more valuable points for the community?
Yeah. Doesn't matter your age. Doesn't matter your gender. Doesn't matter who you are inside. Be yourself. Society will catch up, right? Don't judge people because they're judging you, right? It's a fact from that. But at the end of the day, just go after your passion, whether it be manufacturing, quilting, whether it be talking to people, doesn't matter. Find your passion, stick with it. Turn a hobby into a profession if you can. If you can't, keep your hobbies alive. Hobbies is how we reduce stress. But don't think inside the box. Live uncontained. Your friends will tell you can't do it. And I tell people, just did. Right? So if you listen to them, you will limit your own creativity in your own right. And don't be that bubble buster, right? The fact is, kids stop dreaming at the age of 8 because every adult says, son, how are you going to do that? You're not going to be a quarterback. You're not going to be this.
Be realistic or
somebody else.
Whatever. Yeah. Yep. 101%. Yeah. I just made a LinkedIn post that was like that same thing. Like when children are young, don't discourage them of their dreams, hype them up, maybe affirm that there's gonna be a lot of hard work. It's a good time to train that, like, there's gonna be a lot of hard work to back that dream up, but you can make it happen.
And then sleep's overrated. No, I'm just kidding. Right. But
I'm still figuring out the sleep one. I'm trying to sleep less. I can't make it happen for some reason.
I'm with you.
Awesome. Where can people find you at?
www.carbondwell.com. Hit us on Instagram, Carbondwell. We're filming live every day. That video of Miller Welds, they're a partner with us. Shout out to them in InsoFast Installation. But that video on our website, carbondwell.com, you'll see that 4.5 minutes, and that's what's possible. I had an architect tell me in my own yard, he wanted to charge me $10,000 to design the home. And then he said, you won't have that built in 10 months. And I said, I don't need to argue my son and my capability. Asked him to leave. My son went to Michael's, bought foam board. We designed it. You'll see that in this video. And in 9 months and 1 week, we were moved in and living. And so that's where you can find me. That's where you can see it. That's where you can see our passion. And hopefully that might increase your passion.
Absolutely. I highly suggest everybody to go check out that video on his website. It's definitely super motivational, super inspirational is the proper word. Powerful video. Very powerful video. Thank you, Shane.
All right. I'm going to sign off, but thanks. And again, let's all live life uncontained.
Uncontained.
Have a good day, guys.
Yep. 1 second. Come on. Are we ending? We still live? Guys, are we live or was it ending? No.